Let's have a look at one of these sanatoria, or tuberculosis hospitals as they are called today. Real hospitals for the tuberculous, and not merely resting places. Here we are in a large southern sanatorium. This one has beds for 500 patients. Altogether, there are now 90,000 such beds available. Rest and more rest, as Trudeau discovered when he himself took the cure as a young doctor. Yes, and good food. Nowadays, doctors don't stuff patients with more milk and eggs than they can digest. Just good, well-balanced meals, enough to gain weight on. Smell those delicious loaves. New ways of resting the lung have been developed. This patient is getting pneumothorax treatment. Air is let into the chest cavity, and that rests the lung so that it can heal. When the diseased lung is fully healed, it is allowed to expand again. A lifesaver for many. Each patient is helped to find his place in the workaday world when he leaves the sanatorium. Here's a class in typewriting. In this sanatorium, as in many others, children of tuberculous parents who cannot be properly protected otherwise are cared for in a special department of the sanatorium.
So this is the body chute at Waverly Hills. I'm the only one that's in it right now. It's 5 a.m. in the morning, and I think everybody else has left just about. But the body chute is 600 feet long. And basically what it was made for here at Waverly Hills originally was to bring up, I think, food and anything they wanted. They would bring it up. Over here is the steps, over here is the smooth ramp, and at one time I think they had like tracks or something over here, in my understanding, and this is where they would wheel up the food and everything. Well, what happened was that when there was a lot of death going on here at Waverly Hills, I think there was like a death per hour, is my understanding. And there were so many people that was dying that they started using this for the body chute. They would put the bodies on a rail down here and bring it down to the bottom, and at the end would be a hearse waiting to take the bodies away. The reason why they did this is to basically so the patients at Waverly Hills would not be seeing all these people dying or whatever. Especially if it was 1 per hour, that's a lot of deaths, and there's a lot of people that died here. I've heard all different types of numbers, but it was a lot. So I'm going to turn the light off here for a second, and you probably might be able to see the light at the very end of the 600 feet. Let's see here. And I'm going to turn the light off for a second here. I'll try to anyway. There we go. So that's what it looks like in here with the light off. And I think you can barely see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. That's 600 feet away. I'm at the very top of the body chute right now. So it's pretty long. I think it even extended out further at one time when originally, but part of it at the end was broken down or something. But that's the history of it. It was actually made to bring supplies into Waverly Hills, but it was also used later on to bring the bodies down to the hearse. So a lot of death in Waverly Hills. My understanding was when it was open, I think it was in the 20s, if I remember correctly, and it was the premier tuberculosis center in the United States. And so there was people coming across, pretty much across the nation, coming here because they were, experimenting with the newest techniques and everything. But before they found, basically the cure, I mean, there was a lot of people who died pretty quickly. So anyway, if you've never seen the body chute, this is the body chute. So let me turn the light back on and see how far you can see down there. I got my light on, and you can only see maybe 100 feet. You can't see all the way down it. So, and I'm definitely not going to walk right to the end. It's a pretty steep grade coming up through there, so like I say, I'm at the very, very top of it. And turn around and you can see that goes on up, and then that part of the tunnel goes into Waverly Hill itself. So, all right, talk to you later. This is the first floor of Waverly Hills. Most of the first floor is used for their haunted house. So a lot of the rooms are closed off. This is was their morgue here. And I think they would do their autopsies right here. They had an elevator right here so that they would put the bodies on, and they would bring them to the body chute that I was just at, and then they would bring them down the 600-foot tunnel to the Hearst. Now, this was actually, as you say, a small morgue, but supposedly they was having like a 1 person die per hour during the worst part of the tuberculosis when it was open. And then where I was just at, those doors, those wide doors, is where the refrigerators is at. And supposedly they kept the bodies in those refrigerators because there were so many people dying that they didn't have time to, do autopsies and then bringing down a body chute. So they had to keep them in those refrigerators. Well, you can see here that most of the artwork here this is where they have their, like I say, they had the haunted house at Waverly Hills in September and October. So a lot of these rooms down here are closed off. This is the first floor, and then they had the other floors. The other four floors are pretty much open. So I've taken a lot of photos up there. Well, they don't want you having a light on up in those other floors because they want you to walk basically by using the moonlight in those hallways up there, because they want to be able to, you can definitely see a lot more when there's not like a flashlight or something like that. You're just using your eyes to see, in the moonlit night. You can see a lot more. When I first got here tonight, and I was on the 4th floor, when I first started, I seen it was no more than 5 feet away from me. It was legs and part of the body was walking through a doorway, black. I thought it was a person that was, on the tour. And I turned on the light, went into the room, and there was nobody there. So that was definitely interesting. And I know what I seen, and so there was definitely something there. So there's really not that much to see on this first floor. You get the morgue, you get the refrigerators. Like I say, most all these rooms are closed off, so. It's about getting close to around 5:30 in the morning. So a lot of the people's done left. Maybe I can go to the 2nd floor here and walk around a little bit and show you what it looks like up there. The other floors pretty much look the same. They're all open. Part of the Waverly Hills is where they're redoing it, and the other part is just old part. 3/4 of the windows have been replaced. The others are open, basically rain getting through. I mean, it would cost just an unbelievable amount of money to totally replace this or redo this place. Probably $100 million or more, I would think. This place is big. They've been replacing windows in this thing for 20 years now. And you can see that's the new windows there. There's so many windows in here. Now, here we're going up to the second floor. So here are these large porches. This is where they would wheel patients out on their beds and to give them sunlight. They thought that sunlight would help with tuberculosis, and really it didn't, but they thought it did. Once the patients became so terminal, then they would take and move them across the hall in these smaller rooms here. And that's where they would basically keep them until they either got better or died. Most died. And these rooms didn't get no sunlight. So they was pretty much terminal if they come in these smaller rooms. Now this is the second floor. So the other 3 floors above here is pretty much the same. The very top floor, the 5th floor, is smaller. It goes out to like these open porches. And I know part of the 5th floor was like basically where the tuberculosis patients that had tuberculosis of the brain was like go insane, and so they kept them up in 5th floor. One ward was up there for that. That was the thing about tuberculosis. It could affect any part of your body, basically, is my understanding. And of course, once you got in your brain, you didn't live very long. Elevator. They did find a dead guy. I think it was a veteran or something, and his dog down a shaft or something, who lived in here for a while, and they found him dead, supposedly in one of these elevator shafts or whatever. This is what connects, one of the middle stairways that connect. This will give you a good idea of what it looks like. And you can see on this end, you can see that the windows are still open on this side of the building. It just costs so much money to refurbish an old building like this. I think it's 175,000 square feet, if I remember correctly. And it would just take a tremendous amount of money to, do this. I mean, they're basically making all their money off of their help restored off of historical tours and paranormal ghost hunts. So another stairway, which I don't think this one's used. So that's pretty much what it looks like on most of the floors. Now, where they have the gift shop at now down there is where the big laundry room used to be at. Light switches in there. When this place was built in the 20s, it was like state of the art. You see that right there? My understanding is that this was really state of the art at the time because it actually had I think it was headphones that you could plug in and you could listen to radio back then, the few radio stations they had. The patients could. Also, they had like these big tanning lights that the patients had because they thought that sunlight did people get with tuberculosis, so they had these big suntan bulbs or whatever. You can see they had them in every room. So like I say, basically during the day, they would wheel them out on their hospital beds out here in the sun, on an open porch out here. And this would be their room. Then if they got too terminally ill, then they would bring them over to the smaller rooms over here that didn't get no sunlight. And those were the terminally ills. And I'm assuming it's once they got terminally ill back then, I'm sure that they didn't live very long. Walk over here in the hallway. A little closet, well, that would have been a little closet that they had back then. Elevator. This would have been restrooms back then. Seen better days. So supposedly they're supposed to turn this, like the first couple floors, maybe into like a, I think they're like wanting to turn into like a bed and breakfast and like a conference center or whatever. Where you could like have meetings and stuff here. And then that would help, help pay for renovation to other parts of the building. As you can see, I mean, like I say, it would cost a fortune to even renovate something this size. But we're about ready to wrap this up for tonight. It's almost getting ready, time to leave. Okay, well, I think you're about ready to shut this off. Okay, then. Thanks for watching.